Hello there. Excuse me, I was sneezing fit just as I was about to go live. This fucking morphine laboratory fucking sickness shite that just keeps coming back. Fucking 4 times I've had it. Sneezing, fucking blocked nose, pain in the arse. 4 fucking times, unheard of. That's these fucking dipshits in their fucking laboratory fucking about. Honestly. 4 fucking times in the space of 4 months. So I knew I was going to be housebound and bored out my cranium. So I thought I would go live for a wee while. I'll probably get some sneezing fits in while I'm here. Well, what you doing coming on live if you're sneezing and coughing and all that stuff? See, can I be a good TV presenter when I've got the fucking cold and sniffles? How are you doing? I fight the flat earth. So, listen, this is purely for my own entertainment and to make the points continually, because we'll get a globe earther here, Craig Mcneill-Ftfe the flat earth, fight the fat tits, although he's looking a bit skinnier these days, I must admit. And the guy Sanchez, and two people who are hopelessly wrong trying to do battle with each other. Physical reality is very simple, and we'll display how very simple it is, but Craig's got some zingers to offer us. And again, I'm not really bothered. It's not really about creating any sort of division, but people like this, call other people subhumans and think that they're superior in their intellectual capacity. And the reality is he's just a cult lunatic, hell bent on bastardizing reality to fit his useless cult belief and trying to chastise everybody else into believing the same utter dirt that he does. So, I'm only going to show what he's saying and then show what actual reality shows. It's as simple as that. It's the same for these flat earthers. I don't know why there's still such a fight. You'll hear it from the guy, Sanchez, density and this. First and foremost, matter does not have the ability to act upon itself. We've got a pressure gradient, we've got density gradients, we've got buoyancy. That's because there's a force acting. The force is, again, having to highlight this stuff for them. Matter doesn't act on itself. If matter's in motion, it means that something else is in motion acting upon it. Okay? So in this case, we're talking about the Earth, the pressure gradient, buoyancy, yada, yada. Yeah, and it's very, very simple. So, it beggars belief that these people are still continuing with the same rhetoric. So all we can do is keep showing what they're saying and then show actual reality, because that's the fight here. What's happening in actual reality? How we are doing? Tampa, Random, Nasty Fripples, Michael, Roaming, Cheswick, Craig, Marky, Chris, One Man, how's it going? Arkeen, how you doing, mate? Renewed awareness. World without curve, boom me. Right. Same with the Death Pete and Pete. Matter at rest still exerts a force in their opinion. I mean, it's intellectually bankrupt to try and assert that matter has the ability to exert any sort of force of its own volition. It's not how reality functions. I can't comprehend where they're getting any of this stuff from. If matter's changing or in motion or whatever, something's acting on it externally. Let's just start with this. This was the first, I'd saved this little one. Let me see here, how do I do this again? So here, share screen. Hopefully you should be seeing that. Let me just check. Why is it not showing it? Why is it not showing it? I need to get my OBS sorted out. I don't understand what's happening with this thing here. Right, stop in a minute. Why am I not back? Hang on a wee second here. Entire screen, right, I'll just do that. That should be us now, hopefully. Right, that should hopefully be it. So let's hear what he's saying here. Well done on the weight loss, Craig. It's nice to see that you're skinny tits now. There might still be a bit of flabby tit there. Don't know. Take the top off, let's see. You still got some flabby tit happening. Can't call you fat tits anymore. By the way, Craig's, insistent on another invite to his house. Remember the last time I had to sign a contract so that he could have bouncers and stuff and all this rigmarole? I mean, there's nothing to discuss, Craig. Right. A force acting in the opposite direction. So, hopefully that's going to share. See here. Right, it should be sharing, that's fine. So, buoyancy, acts in the opposite direction to force, which is patently and blatantly and obviously demonstrably false. So I'm just going to play William's little video here. I've linked William and Andrew's channels in the description here. They're just much better at making videos than I am. I'm too bloody lazy with it, so I'm going to use theirs. I'm sure they'll no mind. Flat earthers as well, Bro Sanchez, these sorts of people. You're arguing against reality. You're sounding ridiculous, just as ridiculous as a globe earther when you start coming up with all this nonsense. This is demonstrable reality. This is how it functions. I'm just going to talk over the top of this. I'm just going to mute that. Right. So, Craig's claim, buoyancy acts in the opposite direction of force. It doesn't. Pressure gradients, density gradients, buoyancy act in a line with the direction of force. This is your reality. There is no debate. There is no argument. All there is cult beliefs that try and twist reality and use sophistry to try and explain it to fit their model. There is no discussion. All there is a highlighting here of blatant dishonesty, blatant disregard for practical physics and what actually happens in the real world. 100% of the time, when there's a force at play, buoyancy, density, pressure will align with the direction of force, not in the opposite. Craig wants you to believe that, you know, there's a force acting in this direction, downwards here in your screen, and that the air bubble is going to go the opposite direction. Well, this is reality here. I'm just going to show this next little section also, as we'll hear Craig, you know, again bastardising and totally miscomprehending what's actually happening in reality. So in this situation here, if you pay attention to the apple will remain where it is. Visually to you, it has the appearance that the apple swings backwards in the opposite direction of the acceleration, the force, right? And the helium balloon will move in the direction of the force. The helium balloon's the thing that actually moves because there's a compression of the air at the back, causing a push on the less dense material, forcing it forwards. So the apple appears to be swinging backwards and forwards, but it's not. It's remaining in its position relative to the van. As the van accelerates in that direction, there's a compression of air here due to the solid wall container, which causes a pressure gradient, which pushes on the less dense material, forcing it in that direction. So the cause of buoyancy, again, buoyancy is not a force in itself. It's an effect. Okay, so the compression of air here causes it and pushes it in that direction. Very simple. What you hear Craig saying is that the air moves to the back, and the air moving in that direction causes the helium balloon to move in this direction. Total and utter gibberish. So in these situations, the air in here does not have the ability to push on the apple, to push it forwards, which is why it appears to swing back. And again, it's only an appearance, and it's the same in reality when you drop something. If it's more dense in the air cannot keep pushing it upwards. So what the problem with these people is, you know, people like Craig, you know, well, I'm just going to save it actually. We'll get more into it when I play the rest of the, you know, supposed debate or discussion, whatever you want to call it. Just play that out. We'll save that. It's all right. I turned the audio off just so that I could speak. Don't worry about the sound. I'm going to narrate over the top of them. Take it was sharing all right though. I should be back now. It gets better. It gets better. So let me just get this lined up. 102.30. as I say, you know, based on those statements, and again, simple practical reality, you know, there's nothing to discuss. These people are wrong in every aspect of their beliefs, and we can simply demonstrate reality and how it functions. So let me just screen share again. So we'll have audio for this, obviously. See, again, what's he going to say? So let's do that. So, you know, again, when we get back to this scenario, you know, it's caused by, you know, the force going in the opposite direction. It's clearly not. The container's the van, and whatever direction the container, the van accelerates, the helium moves in that direction. There's no air moving backwards. The air is staying, you know, in its relative position within the van. As the back of the van contacts the air, it presses on it, causing a compression, right? Which then forces the helium going forwards. This is what I'm talking about with these people. You know, they think that, you know, they can bastardize reality. You know, what Craig wants you to, what his claim actually is here is that the van's going to accelerate in that direction and the helium should be going in the opposite direction. But he thinks he's clever and that he can just skirt over it and hope that nobody recognises what he's just said. The van's clearly moving to the right here on the screen. The helium balloon follows and aligns with the direction of the force, not the opposite direction. This is simple physics. And this is a guy professing everybody else is subhuman and he's a great engineer. But yet, you know, he totally misses these fundamental facts of reality. What Craig claimed is that the van's going to accelerate in that direction and that the helium balloon would move in the opposite direction. Clearly not the case, is it, Craig? Gravity creates buoyancy on Earth going up. So when we get back to this again, so if we invert this van 90 degrees, right? Craig wants you to believe that there's a force acting downwards and the helium balloon goes through and against that force acting upwards. Now again, we've established matter cannot move of its own volition. Matter will move the direction it is pushed in. So if the helium balloon's being pushed upwards, that means the air's being pushed upwards. And what's the air being pushed up by? The Earth. There is no inversion of that scenario in any way, shape, or form. None of that claim can be demonstrated in any way, shape, or form. You know, he mentioned centrifuge. He doesn't even comprehend what a centrifuge is. Right? Thinking that, you know, there's a force acting outwards while the air bubble moves inwards. And that's not how a centrifuge works either. It's the outer wall constantly changing direction. It puts a pressure on the material within it, creating a gradient in that direction because it's constantly changing direction. So in a centrifuge, the air bubble moves towards the middle because the outer wall is pushing on the material within it, creating the gradient. No, the opposite way, Craig. You don't have a clue what you're talking about, son. Or maybe you do have a clue what you're talking about and you're just being a little sophist wanker. Because you certainly ain't an engineer when you're spouting that crap. Oh, buoyancy goes against the direction of force and stuff. Say, when you're in a car, you drive forward, the helium balloon goes forward. Utter fucking moron, son. You're either seriously fucking thick or you're a lying little piece of shit. Your choice, son. Reality's not going to change. You can cry and whinge about it all day long. It's never going to change. Every time you utter your derp, I'm just going to pull up aspects of reality and demonstrate your derp. Okay. Pressure variance. It's no measuring gravity. Right? You know, what are you talking about when you talk about gravity? Because the fact is, Craig, that the Earth's in motion upwards relative to us. So what's your version of gravity in space-time? Huh? The medium that holds matter, that causes what we ascribe as inertia. What are you actually talking about? I'm just going to let this play through and stop it. You know, this section's only, I don't know, let's see here, 20 minutes or something. So we'll just go through it because there's a few zingers in here. It doesn't matter what you've used, it's your comprehension, Craig, and clearly you've got a warped perception and comprehension of how reality functions, son. We live in a gradient. We've got a pressure gradient, we've got a density gradient, we've got buoyancy. Now, these things, rationally, logically, demonstrated through practical physics, shows beyond any shadow of a doubt that these things align in the direction of force. There is no other rational conclusion that you can come to. None. Or you're going to enter into some religious hogwash gibberish, double speak and fucking utter nonsense to try and, as I say, bastardize reality to make it fit your derpy worldview. You're going to lose every single time. As I said before, Craig, son, the cat's out the bag. There's no putting it back in, sunshine. You can keep aiming for low-hanging fruit and think you're achieving something. Reality will trump you every single time. That's just a shame, son. I feel sorry for you that you're so hopelessly lost in your religious derp. Bro Sanchez and any other flat earther out there, I'm going to put you in the right here. Pay attention. Pulling forces do not exist. If matter moves, something's pushing it. Okay? As again, colloquially, you know, run of the mill chat, oh, I pushed it and I pulled it and stuff. In physics, in actual reality, the mechanistic aspects of what makes matter move is that something pushed upon it. So learn that. I don't know why you're not learning this. So that you can then implement it and weaponize yourself to have it against these people when they start spouting this stuff. This is what happens when people are too egotistical and they don't want to learn. Sharpen your tools. Get right to the cutting point. Cut right through them. Pulling forces don't exist. The reason is because of the gradient, right? And the cloud you can see is flattened out in the bottom. That's because the more dense air beneath it is pushing on it, pushing it upwards. That's why it's flattened out on the bottom. Density has no power. Density is not a force. It's an attribute of matter. It's how we try and quantify matter and what it actually is. It has no, ability to act. It's just a word to describe the amount of matter within a given space. Right? Density has no power to do anything. And there's no sinking. Nothing physically moves downwards. This is, again, they don't learn. They don't pay attention. They don't go out and investigate the reality properly. Visually, it looks to you like things move downwards as the earth moves upwards and catches up to the object. That's why when you put an accelerometer in any form, whether it's digital, analog, whatever you like, the gradient, the pressure gradient, buoyancy and density cease because it's no longer connected to the earth, which is pushing it all in order to formulate the gradient. So when you release an object, the earth catches up to the object because the air can't push it up anymore. If the object was actually accelerating downwards, then an accelerometer would register said acceleration. If there was a downwards acceleration, there would be a cause to that acceleration, an external force, something else moving in the downwards direction to act upon matter to accelerate it towards the ground. That's not reality, I'm afraid. I mean, it's correct to say that their density layers separated by their density, but the density of the material is not the cause of the layering. The matter, these dense materials and various densities don't have the ability, they don't have a brain, they don't have internal mechanisms to say, right, you have to go up the top and you have to go to the bottom and stuff. They're layered like this because there's an external force acting on them. Now, the fact that the most dense materials here closest to the Earth aligns with the demonstrable fact that anytime you apply an acceleration, a force, to a density gradient, you will see the same thing happening. If you take that tower now and change its direction and accelerate it in any given direction, that pressure density gradient will now align with the direction of said acceleration. That's how reality functions. So if you're sitting that on a table and you can see a gradient here, dense, most dense here, least dense here, buoyancy in effect, that's because it's being pushed in that direction. The effects of what they're calling gravity is actually the Earth's motion upwards relative to us. As I say, you can qualify it as I've just highlighted for you. You can apply force to various states of matter and witness for yourself what actually happens. So in this scenario with this sitting on the table, if I push the ping pong ball down into here and it started to rise up through here, see if I then took that vessel and accelerated it up, the ping pong ball will rise up through the medium quicker than it was before because I'm exerting an extra force on it. So I'm adding to the vector. Matter doesn't exert anything. Weight's not an attribute of matter. Okay, it's a word to describe the resistance of matter to change, acceleration. That's why, you know, if I took you and you weighed 18 stone and I accelerated you, your so-called weight will increase. So weight's not an intrinsic value or property of any matter whatsoever. No, bro, Sanchez and flat earthers alike, the clouds splayed out on the bottom because the pressure's upwards. The density of the air beneath it is pushing it up, and you can see the displacement here. It's why water levels. Okay, another thing, flat earthers like to regurgitate, water seeks its level, doesn't it? It's being displaced perpendicular to the motion vector. So water being horizontal is the same as this. It's the earth acting on it in an upwards trajectory. I'm not getting sound through this. Is that correct? Hang on a minute. Are you hearing Craig and Bro Sanchez? Why is the video that I'm playing not get any audio? No, for fuck's sake. Right, why is that happening? I mean, the volume's up on it. Maybe just because it's my mic that's playing. Right, I'm going to need to stop this then and figure it out. Anybody get any ideas? So you can hear me, but you couldn't hear the video of Craig and Bro Sanchez. Don't get that. Don't get that at all. Also share tab audio. Oh, right, wait a minute, right, wait a minute, I figured it. There it's there. Right. That should be us now. Right, you should be able to hear it now. So obviously, you'll be able to, you know, from my response, what was being said. Right, so now for here on in, you should hear the two.
That's Newton's
Just making
universal law
sure.
of gravitational
Now watch
acceleration.
this. That's all I needed. That's all I need. So the G is Fitz constant and the R is distant between objects. So we can test this claim using real world examples. The World Trade Center in New York has an estimated mass of over 1 trillion kilograms. If an 80-kilogram man stands 10 meters away from the building, Newton's formula predicts a measurable horizontal gravity. Says that this pull and like magnets face like a magnet to a refrigerator, but that's not reality. Now here's the rebuttal he's gonna make. This is because gravity does not behave like magnetism, despite the equation implying that it should. But his answer is going to be the center of the earth. When these contradictions are pointed out, gravity defenders subtly claim gravity only pulls toward the center of the earth. But this is a double standard. Newton's law explicitly states that all objects attract each other, not just planets. Even mainstream explanations admit that gravity comes from the entire mass of an object, not just its center. The center is merely a mathematical simplification. So gravity can't selectively turn off horizontal attraction when it becomes inconvenient. Gravity is accredited with two completely opposite effects. On Earth, gravity allegedly causes everything, the ash, the oceans, the atmosphere, and all of that to stick firmly to the globe. But in space, the same force causes objects to orbit indefinitely instead of colliding. So we're told this happens because gravity perfectly balances inertia just right forever. Yet there's not a single experiment in history where two objects have been shown to lock into perpetual orbit. This behavior is conveniently limited to objects so massive we can't test them, which is another double standard. He says that gravity is always pulling gases downward, but that's why Neil deGrasse Tyson chose to drop a mic and not a helium balloon, because I know he's saying gravity pull gases downward, but he's not proving it. So the thing is,
the highest art is beautiful.
If gravity is pulling gases downward,
about 50 seconds.
Think about this. Let's look at Newtonian theories from another perspective. Let's say that the apple that fell on Newton fell into some water. He would have saw the apple fall.
The apple's not falling anywhere. Just like in this scenario here, as I say, invert this 90 degrees, the apple appears to move to the back.
Through the air and float on top of water due to density, not gravity. That's why a bubble in the water can escape and float up to the surface, but gravity is pulling gases down. But the bubble in the water, somehow it goes opposite of where gravity is pulling it.
That's right. And that's the thing, bro, Sanchez and flat earthers. They want to tell you that there's a force acting downwards towards the earth. Excuse me. Well, at the same time, you've got buoyancy acting in the opposite direction. That's a direct violation and contradiction to practical reality. That's not how it functions. So, you know, it's good that you grasp that. The nonsense of a... Sorry. Of a force acting in one direction while simultaneously acting against itself in the opposite direction. It's retarded.
He need another force to play tug of war with gravity, but there are not two forces, one pulling down, one pulling up. It's just the law of density. And if I'm heavier than the medium I'm in, I'm sink. If I'm lighter, I float. Pointing out a natural phenomenon as proof. So, well, I'll land right there. That's my time. Yeah. That's my time. Yeah. So it's the back and forth.
No, so it's time for the rebuttals.
Rebuttals. Gotcha.
Yeah, so,
okay. This is very, very easy. I know bro didn't do the maths, but I did. So if you do FG equals GM1M2A squared for a man, average weight man and the building that he was talking about, the attractive force between the two would be 0 at 1 meter, right? If 1 meter away from the building, the attractive force towards the building would be 0 0.002 newtons. You go a mile away, is 0.000000007 newtons. You're not going to feel that. That's far too small for you to even register that that's happening. That's not even a slight breeze. It's literally a speck of dust, even less than that, touching you. Now, however, we have measured horizontal attraction. An experiment called the Schehallien experiment in Scotland used what is known as the most symmetrical mountain in the world, Mount Schehallien, to literally measure the horizontal attraction.
All this stuff that he's waffling on about the new, this is for another discussion, right?
Between a plumb bob and the mountain, showing that the Earth is the main thing that's putting down, but of course the mountain also has...
Nothing pulls anything, Craig. There's no mechanism of pull in physics. It's a relative description of direction relative to an observer or some other reference point, right? In physics, in the physical real world, it's only leverage. Things move because they're pressed, pushed. Okay, Craig? That's a fact, son. Again, you're an engineer. You should bloody well know that.
An attraction, and they calculated what the attraction between the mountain and the pendulum was, showing that there is a sideways acceleration. It's a lot less than on Earth, than the Earth is creating, but it is there. Like I said, between the man and the building, 0.002 newtons at 1 meter away. Bro said that there has to be another force. Correct. That's called the force of buoyancy. As I explained, buoyancy acts in the opposite direction to gravity.
Buoyancy is not a force in itself, it's an effect. Right? You know, buoyancy, again, showing you this, Craig. Okay, it's the effect of a force, and it aligns with the direction of force, not the opposite, as you continue to repeat, not the opposite direction, Craig, aligned with the direction of force.
Very, very simple. So let's take a helium balloon, which will go up as you let it go. We know that. Why? Because of the force of buoyancy. The force of buoyancy is acting in the opposite direction to gravity because...
No. I mean, this is the word salad gibberish here. The force of buoyancy acting in the opposite direction of gravity, which is down towards the Earth. So as I say, in this scenario here, Craig wants you to believe that whatever direction this force is acting, which would be, you know, the trolley pushing on the bottle, pushing on the water, that the air bubble is going to move in the opposite direction. I mean, it's simple physical reality. It's not what happens. So in this scenario here, this is moving in this direction. In Craig's world, that air bubble should be moving in the opposite direction. Utterly hopeless.
The mass, if you take the volume of the balloon...
Listen to all the word salad gibberish here, right?
But it is there. Like I said, between the man and the building, 0.002 newtons at 1 meter away. Bro said that there has to be another force. Correct. That's called the force of buoyancy.
Yes, in your model, there would have to be, Craig, there would have to be a force acting downwards while simultaneously a force acting through that downwards force in the opposite direction. That's like saying a car can go forwards and backwards at the same time, Craig. It's totally and utterly inept and fucking downright stupid.
As I explained, buoyancy acts in the opposite direction to gravity. Very, very simple. So let's take a helium balloon, which will go up as you let it go. We know that. Why? Because of the force.
No, the helium balloon goes up because the air beneath it is pushing it up. And the air beneath that that's pushing it up is being pushed by the earth because matter cannot act of its own volition, Craig. So if a helium balloon goes up, it's being pushed upwards by the air.
Force of buoyancy. The force of buoyancy is acting in the opposite direction to gravity because the mass, if you take the volume of the balloon and then the volume of the air around it, the air has more mass, more density than the volume in the balloon. Therefore, the air around it is pulled down with a stronger force. The acceleration is the same, but because the mass is more, because, F equals ma, the air around it is pulled down with a stronger force than the balloon, which creates a counter force in the opposite direction called buoyancy. Bro.
Total and utter fucking word salad nonsense, son. Again, this is reality. Oh, look at that. The reason the air bubble's moving in that direction is because the compression of the liquid in here, pushing it in that direction because it itself is being pushed in that direction. All that gibberish word salad that you just offered up is never going to change this fact of reality, Craig, son. You can squirm and cry and act all clowny all you like, sonny boy. You're bent over the chair, getting fucking ball deep ridden every time by reality, sunshine.
Bro's absolutely correct. You need another force. That force is called buoyancy. What is the formula for buoyancy? Rho GV.
Well, I mean, you can say that, the force of buoyancy, because in actual reality, that air bubble is actually physically accelerating through that medium because it's being pushed by the medium in that direction. It's being displaced by the medium. So it has true acceleration, it has a true force. But it's not acting in the opposite direction. It's aligning with the force, just like everything else in reality.
That G, that stands for gravity, the acceleration due to gravity. So, bro, kind of...
You take all your equations, son. All your equations, just invert it. It's the Earth that's moving upwards. You think you're fucking smart with your fucking equations. Again, you can spout equations all you fucking like. Your rhetoric, your reasoning is totally and utterly inept and blatantly fucking wrong. Factually incorrect. How do we know it's factually incorrect? Because every aspect of demonstrable reality shows you that you're factually incorrect, son. There's no way to escape it. None whatsoever. The only way you can attempt to escape it is by incorporating some word salad, double speak, gibberish, as we've just witnessed.
Debunked himself twice because, yes, there is a horizontal acceleration, literally measured. Thank you, Sahelian. And Cavendish literally shows that there's a horizontal acceleration.
Aye, that's because when the Earth pushes up, there's a displacement perpendicular to that motion vector. In every scenario, if we accelerate something in a particular direction, there's going to be a perpendicular displacement of gas, liquids, and solids relative to that. As I said at the start, that's why water displaces horizontally, perpendicular to the motion vector. So, and again, that's demonstrated. That's factual. Your twisted perception of it is not demonstrated in any way, shape, or form, Craig.
And buoyancy is the other force that he was saying there needs to be. Thank you for explaining how there.
Well, a force doesn't just arise by itself. As I say, if you ascribe a force to like a buoyant object, the buoyant material, never decided to move on its own. Again, I mean, where's your brain, son? Buoyant material is being pushed in that direction. It's not causing its own motion.
There needs to be another force to act against gravity. Clouds, no, they're not gas, they're water droplets. Buoyancy and air currents hold them up. But what happens when they get too dense? Oh, that's right. The buoyancy and the air currents are overcome by the mass and the density, and it rains. So clouds, once again, explain gravity and do what gravity
Nathan Oakley, clouds debunk your upward accelerating the Earth derp. Fucking Nathan Oakley and this dipshit are on the same fucking level.
Dicks it them to do. Everything about gravity is measured constantly. Density is not a force. Density can't do anything on its own.
That's the best thing you've said there, Craig. No matter can do anything on its own. It's acted upon externally by a force. That means something pushing on it externally in a particular direction. And then we observe the effects of such. So when we look at it into reality and we observe a pressure gradient, a density gradient, displacement of gases and liquids, we understand through practical physics why that happens.
So he's talking about the density tower with the ping pong ball at the top. Great. Take that density tower on a vomit comet. Anyone just got
Designed for women.
up and look at the video now. Density tower on a vomit comet. What happens when the vomit comet begins its parabolic arc?
We'll show you. Let's see here. Let's see this one. So let's just listen to William explain it, because William explains it very well. So let's just have a wee listen. Craig, you know, Bro Sanchez, flares, glerfs, she might learn something.
Only stretch when there is a force being applied. You can test this for yourself. You cannot stretch the slinky without a force. This is something important to note, as it will make the following experiment much easier to understand. When we have a bottle with water and it's connected to the earth, we can experience weight and buoyancy, which are effects of a force or motion. For example, something that's more dense or heavier than the water by volume, like the slinky, will sink or appear to go down, and something that's less dense, like the ping pong ball, will get pushed to the top or float. If I glue the ping pong ball to the top of the slinky so it can be one unit, we can experience a density gradient. The more dense material at the bottom.
So what we'll see here is, you know, again, gravity, relative density, all that stuff from globe earthers, flat earthers. You know, in this scenario, gravity should be acting. No change should occur. Same again with the relative density disequilibrium. Well, you know, your relationship is the medium and the materials within it. So nothing changes in that regard with its relationship. But yet in free fall, when no longer connected to the earth, shown as the direction of the motion vector, we're going to see buoyancy and density cease immediately.
And the less dense at the top. Also, the fact that the slinky is being stretched shows that there is a force present when connected to the earth. However, as soon as I release the bottle into freefall, the buoyant force of the ping pong ball and the weight of the slinky completely vanish along.
Wow, oh, look at that, amazing. And as soon as it touches earth again, coming into contact with the actual force, wang wallop, all of a sudden it resumes. We have buoyancy again.
With the density gradient. The slinky is no longer at the bottom and the ping pong ball is no longer at the top. Also, the fact that the slinky is not being stretched shows that there's no force present. Acceleration requires a force. No force in freefall equals no acceleration in freefall.
Exactly. Try telling that to these fucking absolute fucking cretins.
And the net gravitational acceleration inside that plane becomes zero. That density tower disappears because there is no force organizing the density of those layers. They don't just organize themselves magically for no reason.
That's right, Craig.
There has to be a mechanism arranging the densities.
Yeah, force, acceleration in a particular direction. Now, unfortunately for you, Craig, you're claiming there's a downwards acceleration. If there was a true downwards acceleration, we would see an inversion of what we just witnessed. The ping pong ball would now move towards the floor. Because when we accelerate it downwards physically, that's what we witness. But again, you've got a special pleading case here, where you think there's a force capable of accelerating gas, liquids, and solids simultaneously, so that no discernible, attributes are there that would show us acceleration at play. So it's a double speak. There's acceleration without any effects of acceleration. Derp.
That mechanism is created by gravity. That's why when you counter out gravity by being on a vomit comet, that density tower disappears. Everything that Bro presented there.
That's because when you're on an aircraft, it's been pushed up by the air beneath it. When you put it into a parabolic trajectory, the air's not pushing it up anymore. So the force is removed. As soon as you level the plane out again and it can displace under its wings, the upward push is back again, and buoyancy density resumes.
Debunks him. Debunks.
Craig wants to imagine the downwards force, you know, is pushing everything down to the earth at the same rate, and when it magically hits the earth, all of a sudden, magically, air bubbles go against the downwards acceleration up the way. Again, that's no physics. That's not how reality functions. It's only the special pleading scenario of free fall. Every other example, every single one, including accelerating downwards, shows us an inversion of the pressure gradient and the density gradient in every single scenario, Craig. So who's wrong? Reality or you, son, and your stupid culty beliefs?
His own claims about gravity without him knowing it. And the reason at the beginning I brought up my degree in physics and my degree in engineering is because I have a practical knowledge of how the world works.
Hey, Craig apparently has a practical knowledge of how the world works, while he's just sat there and absolutely shat all over practical reality. He's claimed that buoyancy acts in the opposite direction of force. We've all just witnessed it. Craig can go and recreate the exact same thing and witness the exact same effect, but somehow still claims he's a PhD physics professor, whatever the fuck he wants to believe. Bizarre.
I don't just...
You, son, are the subhuman. With your arrogance, your pomposity and your hubris, thinking that you're some superior intellect while you sit there and shite all over practical reality, making absurd claims about it when it's in your face, and I'm showing you it right now, which I'm sure you'll avoid and ignore and try and word salad your way out of it. But every time you do, you're going to give me fodder, and I'm just going to bring practical reality back into the equation and ram it right down your fucking throat, son.
Just believe what I'm told. I have tested these things. I measured gravity.
You've tested these things. Can anybody show me a test where you can accelerate a vessel and recreate buoyancy acting in the opposite direction? No, you can't, because it's no reality.
Personally, to test if it was there. I had to pass my degree. It's literally a measurement that can be done.
So you regurgitated the mantras of your cult teachings, which are blatantly, obviously wrong, and you get a pass. Oh, amazing, Craig. Amazing. It's just like every other cult in the world. If you can regurgitate the mantras and repeat the fucking mission statements, then you're a good disciple. Doesn't mean diddly squat, son, especially when you're making claims about actual, reality that clearly shows you're wrong.
By anyone with an ounce of intelligence. You don't even have to be that smart to do a Cavendish experiment. You can even calculate the gravitational acceleration by dropping a pencil and measuring how fast it accelerates. That's really...
No, it didn't accelerate, Craig. You drop an accelerometer and it'll register 0 because it's not accelerating down. All you have is a visual interpretation where you ascribe all the numbers to the dropped object and start asserting that it's a dropped object that physically moved through 3-dimensional space towards the ground. That's not what's happening. Take your values and ascribe it to the Earth. And it's the Earth that caught up with the object, Craig. The reason we know this is because there is no discernible detection of any acceleration downwards other than you standing on the ground visually looking at it and then ascribing a quantity to that dropped object, that it's a dropped object that's fallen. Although if you attach an accelerometer to it, the accelerometer immediately registers 0. No acceleration, no force at play. So as I say, the cat's out the bag. Your wee culty derpism is well understood, and I can articulate it to you clearly that that's exactly what you're doing.
Really not a hard thing to do. The thing is that gravity predicts everything.
No gravity. All there is a register of a change between the dropped object and the surface of the Earth. That's what you're registering. That's what you're observing. A change of the distance between the dropped object and the surface of the Earth. Now, you and your little cult bias attribute and ascribe all value to the dropped object. That's because you're a biased religious fanatic, son. It does not establish what was actually moving in what direction. An accelerometer would tell you that. What's moving in what direction.
Thing about what we see happening that we say is due to gravity. It matches the predictions every time. Bro said that gravity should act like magnetism. No, not in the slightest. Gravity is an attractive force. There is zero repulsive force involved in gravity.
Attractive forces are not things. Just like I've highlighted with magnetism or variance in air pressure, right? If there's a change, like two magnets going towards each other, one magnet didn't magically reach out and grab the other magnet. There's a medium between them that's being affected, and it's that medium that pushes it towards it. That's cohesive, and you can structure a cohesive, scenario around that based on practical physics. Yet again, you understand that we're creating a lower air pressure. The higher medium, the higher density or pressure medium around it rushes in to fill the void and takes particulates with it. What Craig wants you to imagine is that your vacuum, your Hoover, has some internal magic that can reach out and grab stuff from your carpet and take it into the chamber. That's not how physics is. That's not how the reality functions. So attractiveness between objects or matter is not one piece of matter somehow magically affecting another piece of matter. There must be a medium between them. So all your postulations and your imaginings are not even logically, conducive or rational. Draw it for me, Craig. Just try and imagine how it actually functions. Draw me like two objects and then, draw your diagram of how one object magically reaches out and affects the other object. You know fine well it's because you're going to have to introduce a medium. And it's the medium that's being distorted that flows in a particular direction towards the larger mass. Which is why they invented the notion of space-time. Because they knew they needed a medium, Craig. So why are you sitting there acting all fucking smarmy?
Includes repulsive forces, which don't exist in gravity. So the claim that gravity should act like magnetism is a misunderstanding of everything around physics. So basically everything Bro did there was debunk himself, not understand physics, not understand density and why it does what it does.
Pot, kettle, black. Craig, you're looking in a mirror there when you're talking about Bro Sanchez.
And then debunk himself again. So I think that's a perfect rebuttal to everything that he said. Once again, the attractive force between the man and the building that he was describing is 0.002 newtons when you do the math. He didn't do the math. He said, here's a formula, and this is what this formula should say, without actually doing any of the math. I did the math whilst he was talking. 0.002 newtons. That is, you wouldn't even register that. That is less than a speck of dust hitting you. It is so small that it is completely negligible to every other force that is acting. A bit of wind would overcome that. There would be no way to measure that because it is so small. You use extremely precise scientific equipment to measure a gravitational acceleration. Recently, there was a Cavendish experiment done on the millimeter scale using gold balls, showing that even at the...
Paying more for medicated weight loss? Maybe it's time to switch providers. At Juniper, we've lowered the prices of our medicated...
We'll just stop there now. A wee break from the dirt. Stop sharing. And there's still going to be flares going, I don't understand. I don't understand. I mean, there is no way to make it any simpler. But what if there's things that we don't know about and stuff? Yeah, but there's stuff that we do know about. And one of the things that we know about is that when a force acts in a particular direction, matter displaces relative to that force. We see a perpendicular displacement of gas and liquids. We see a formulation of a pressure gradient, of a density gradient, of buoyancy aligning with the direction of that force. What other way could you possibly imagine that it could function? Coupled with that, you can make a prediction, as I done, knowing fine well that when I let things go into free fall, I would witness what would happen when the removal of force was there. Again, at this point, flat earthers and globe earthers are just as disgusting as each other. Absolutely vulgar. They have no rationale. They have no solid reasoning to stand upon. No practicality to demonstrate their stupid beliefs whatsoever. Anywho, I probably really should have just snipped that up and made little short videos, but too fucking lazy. I don't have the desire sometimes to do that. It'd probably be more effective, but it doesn't detract from the facts. You know, it is what it is. Still blows your mind, well, Walker. It should. It should. It's so simple. Reality becomes a lot simpler to comprehend, and what also happens is that you can see clearly through the bullshit once you grasp how reality functions. You know, you can listen to these people, and it doesn't matter how highfalutin they appear to be, marbles in their mouth, PhD, yada yada, all that fucking appeals to nonsense. You can tear through it simply. There is nothing that any of these people are ever going to offer that's ever going to change how reality functions. Nothing. And that's it. I wish these flat earthers like Bro Sanchez would grasp this stuff. You know, it's kryptonite for globe earthers. There's no way that they're just going to make themselves look totally and utterly ridiculous anytime they try and address this stuff. The fact that you can demonstrate that the Earth's moving in that direction with a perpendicular displacement helps you to comprehend your reality. You know, it's not a ball. It's impossible for it to be a ball. End of story. There is no downwards acceleration. Nothing physically accelerates downwards. I know that's hard for you to grasp. Or about Earth stationary. Relative to you within that reference frame, yes, it appears to you to be stationary. However, all the effects that you're witnessing going on around you are demonstrating to you that you're not stationary. Well, they can keep it up. I'm just going to entertain myself, and I'm just going to laugh and make funny videos about it. You know, laughing and ridiculing it with laughter is the best method. I don't even think there was anything else being said on that. Let me just do a wee quick check. Let me see here. I'll go back to it in a minute. End up getting fed up listening to them. But the thing is that these people offer you an opportunity to highlight it, because these are the sorts of people that are having these sorts of people are having an influence and an effect on children and the rest of the wider world. So, you know, they've got a voice and they're running about willy-nilly spouting it. So I've got a voice. Running away, you know, is not going to help matters. There's some things in life that you have to meet head on. Blatant bullshit like that has to be met head on. You know, the world's living in a totally psychotic, fucking delusional paradigm here. The foundations beneath their very feet have been obscured and warped. Look at the state of flat earthers. You know, that think that they were part of the counterintelligence and the counterculture and that they were super intelligent because they could debunk the globe. Then you point out to them that the Earth's in motion and they absolutely lose their shit. So what? They've just to go in now. So say stationary flares get their way. Now the whole world would have another warped perception of their reality. That's not how we get progress. That's not how we get right to the nuts and bolts of stuff. I'm going to take every opportunity when I hear this utter nonsense being spouted to highlight it for what it is. And I'm not really that concerned about flat earthers, right? Because the majority of the world believes they live on a twiddly-widdly fucking spinning space testicle. Look at the radio silence. It speaks volumes. It speaks absolute volumes. I know for a fact fucking Skinny Tits knows this is happening. Where is he? Oh, he's bravado about inviting me to his house for a discussion or a debate. It's no debate, Craig. Stop telling lies. Stop saying that buoyancy acts in the opposite direction of force. And in his comment section, he brought up centrifuge. And my point to him was, Craig, your model's not claiming a centrifugal effect. And he said, yeah, but I'm using that to show how buoyancy goes in the opposite direction of force. Again, displaying how utterly inept he is, that he thinks that a centrifuge, you know, when we have air bubbles going inward, that's somehow the opposite to the direction. You know, a centrifuge is constantly changing direction. The walls are pushing on the matter. The matter wants to go in a straight line and it's being pushed continually. So again, it's being pushed, Craig, which causes a compression here, which then causes a buoyancy in the opposite direction, or the same direction, I should say. Craig and these people think that in a centrifuge there's something in the middle that acts outwards because he's a lunatic. PhD, physics professor and all that, engineer bollocks. Doesn't have a fucking clue what he's talking about. No clue whatsoever. Why are blues? The flares mock it because they're retarded. The globals are smart enough to stay the fuck away from it. Because it's coherent, it's demonstrable, it's factual reality. Flares are just digging their own fucking grave. Because they've been hoodwinked by religious mantras. And they come into this from the, you know, a total opposite. Well, if the Earth's not a globe and it's not rotating and spinning through the universe, it must be stationary. Because it feels stationary. As I say, but physical reality is showing you in every possible way that it's not stationary. Not only that, as I continue to ask them, all right, if the Earth was moving upwards, what is it you expect you would be feeling? Because what you would be feeling is exactly what you're feeling right now. That being the Earth pushing up on your arse cheeks or your feet when you stand up. Or you think it's you pushing down on the Earth and the Earth's stationary somewhere. Is it just floating somewhere? Or so it's on pillars. So the pillars on something else. And then the thing that the pillars are sitting on, what's that sitting on? And what's that sitting on? And what's that sitting on? And what's an infinite regress of pillars and foundations and stuff. I mean, they just don't go into any depth of their mantric statements to realise how utterly stupid it is. And you'll never get a reasoned discussion at them. You know, as I say, I've continued to ask them, what do you expect to be feeling? Explain to me what you expect to be feeling. Same with the globe earthers. Or you think that, you know, mass attracts mass, right? Somehow this makes this go to it. Draw it. Show me some sort of diagram of the mechanisms, the functions of how that works. Because all I know in factual reality is that if that goes towards that, someone pushed it to there. Something external to it pushed it towards it. But you don't get anything cohesive from these people because it's nonsense. I challenge you, try and think about it yourself. Think about how one piece of matter makes the other piece of matter go towards it. Just think about it. Try and draw it and you'll realise how utterly stupid it is. I mean, I'm open to dialogue. Any of these flares, I was hearing about Peter and Pete. I'm not even subscribed to any of these people, but apparently they're still running about bumping their gums. Maybe I'll need to have a wee dig and have a wee look at them and highlight their utter stupidity. Where's the dialogue? Where's the openness to having these conversations and laying out your reasoning? And your reasoning should be backed by practicality because that's what we're discussing. The practical, real, physical, objective world. Know your beliefs, your fantasies. What I'm saying is no Swahili. It's no complicated. It's very, very simple. And it's backed by physical demonstration 100% of the time. They don't like them questioning this. These sorts of people are the worst. Running about thinking that they can highlight people's apparent absurdity. Well, they have absolutely no fucking cohesive reasoning or logic or rationale behind what they're saying. And then want to shut themselves off from having open dialogue about it. As I said earlier, it's very telling that it's these dumb flirts that are the ones that think they can take this on. Again, globe earthers have got one up on the dumb flares because they're fucking smart enough not to touch it. Magnetism doesn't have an external force pushing things together or forcing things apart. Does it no? Well, this is what I'm saying to you then. Get two magnets and draw for me in your weird warped mind. You draw for me how one magnet makes the other magnet go towards it. Show me the mechanisms of your thinking. Because if I reverse the two magnets and I try and push them together, I can feel a compression between them. There's something there. There's something there. So you draw for me and send me your diagram, and I'll try and decipher it, and I'll present it and show it. Because as I've explained to you, when we see things like a variance in air pressure, like your vacuum cleaner in the house, what you're saying to me is that when you switch your vacuum on, there's something inside there that can reach out and grab stuff and bring it in. It's retarded. You're messing with the medium when you use a thing like a vacuum. You're creating a low pressure. The higher pressure surrounding it rushes in to fill the void. So when you're talking about magnetism, it has to align with practical reality. Reasoning from practical physics. No just, somehow that magnet makes that one go towards it. I need to understand what you're talking about. Draw it for me. Show me your imaginings. That's how stupid it is, Simon. It grabs the air and pulls it into the machine. That's what this is the sort of nonsense that they believe in. I'm doing all right, Alex B. How are you doing? None's pushing down, Vladimir. Nothing's pushing down. An accelerometer's registering an upwards acceleration. If you get a square box with springs and something attached in the centre, right, and accelerate it, right, that's your basic accelerometer. Now, when you accelerate it, so say you've got a lead weight in the middle with these springs. When you accelerate it, boom, that's what happens. The lead weight is here at this wall. If you accelerate it in that direction, boom, the lead weight's at that wall. You sit it on the ground, the lead weight's there because it's been pushed in that direction. Can't wait for the better weather so I can go up to this university and take the little, iBook thing or whatever it is and have these discussions so that I can continue to keep demonstrating the utter absurdity of the rhetoric that comes out of people's mouths in comparison to what practical physics has shown us. How though? That's what I'm saying, family. What's your notions or theories of magnetism? Draw it. Try and get it out of your mind onto paper, and then you will understand how absurd it is what you're saying. Aye, reality deniers everywhere. That's right. Once the weather's better and I go over this fucking incessant. I mean, you seen me, I was on here, what, literally a week and a half ago, and I had the fucking bunged up nose. It went to my bed the other night, no signs, nothing. Wake up at 4 in the morning, my nose is running, my nose is blocked. Never in my entirety of my life have I experienced the same 4 illnesses in the space of a 4-month period. It's these fuckwits and the fucking laboratory fucking about. It's not because my immunity's doing or any of that shite either. These fucking imbeciles, these psychotic fuckwits are fucking about with things they shouldn't be fucking about with. These dipshits are running about getting jagged left, right and fucking centre and spreading this shite everywhere. My whole entire life, never in the slightest has it ever been the case. If the magnets are close enough together, they move together or push apart without an external force. How? How? How does one magnet affect the other magnet? Does it reach out? Does it get mad tentacles that reaches out and grabs it and pulls it inwards? You can hear you. Or the mainstream jobby that one magnet's firing out little fucking pucky balls that are bouncing off it, and somehow that makes it go that way. I mean, or are they encompassed by some field that's being affected by what we call a magnet? And it's causing this field, and I'm using the terms lightly before anybody starts saying, you said, right? That's a more cohesive way to think about it, based on practical physics yet again. That there's some disturbance in some medium, and that medium is now flowing in there to fill a void or whatever it may be, and it carries the other magnet inwards. If not, then you're only left with that option, that this magnet somehow reaches out and latches on, and has a mechanism internally where it winds it in. I mean, this is why I'm saying draw it, play with it, think about it properly, and you start to realise how fucking insane you sound. I hate that, Romy. See, when I can't taste or smell my food. And it's not that. This being the fourth, I'm really ratty and fucking angry and annoyed. I'm getting really agitated by it. Spraying shit everywhere, fucking vaccine in every fucker, fucking shitty food. I'm hearing now people are away 7 vaccines. 7. Do you know what's happening? People are getting sicker, no better, no healthier. And this year I would predict that the amount of fucking sales on Lemsips and cough bottles and whatever else is through the fucking roof. And I worry, is that the future? Are these fuckers, do they want to perpetuate that now? Is this what we've got to look forward to every fucking winter now? 4 and 5 fucking illnesses, so that you get to spend your money on their potions. You can go and get fucked. Look at a fucking penny out for me for any of their fucking potions. That's what I thought, Anthony. But as I say, I first got it before I went to Spain at the start of October. And I got it when I came back, and then you seen me, I had it, you know, a week or so ago, and it went, and I thought that was me. And no warning signs. Usually I'll get like an itchy throat or something. Nothing. So something's morphing continually. So, you know, what I would like is to have some sort of reasoned discussion with a globe earther, a stationary flat earther, and just have that discussion. I'm always here, I'm always open to it. There's no point in running away. There's no point in running away and then spouting your mantras, blatantly wrong mantras, and infecting the world with your wrong nonsense. It's about time you fucking stop that now. I don't care how uncomfortable the truth is. That's just tough. Still going on about this magnetism stuff. Still going on about it. The point I'm trying to make to you, right? There's a magnet. There's a magnet. Right. So in your reasoning, there's nothing external to these, right, that makes one go towards the other. Right? There's nothing external. So this is why I'm saying draw it. So what do you imagine's happening then? What options do we have? As I say, you've got a mainstream narrative of little fucking whatever's been fired and bouncing off of this that somehow makes that go in that direction. Now again, that's not how reality functions. If something was firing at that, it would go further away. Or does it have some sort of tentacles that reach out and push it here? Because remember, When an object moves, it's being pushed by something externally. So does one magnet have the ability, or both simultaneously, both reaching out by mad magical tentacles and pushing each other inwards towards each other? I mean, this is what I'm talking about. How absurd is that? IGIT the game. That's exactly it. One side wants to invoke magic pulley forces, the other thinking density and buoyancy create themselves. Or magnets magically make each other go towards each other for no apparent fucking reason. Well, that's what I'm saying, Boom Me. That's cohesive, that's structured from, taken from reality and how things function. Things move because they're pushed. There only is leverage, there only is pushing. So something moves, it's being pushed. We understand that in air pressure, if you create a lower pressure system, the higher pressure pushes around it and will take particulates along with it, like a river flowing. I just don't get what goes on in the minds of some of these people. It's like they just come up against a brick wall and they keep banging their head off the brick wall and saying stuff that doesn't make any rational sense whatsoever. Take it easy, Wire Blues. If you go to some, son, fuck's sake. Lucky you. So you can see it in like Lathwaite's Magnetic River. Where he shows it as a flow. Right, so there's a flow happening. There's a motion. And that things are being carried along by that flow. Right? And you can see that, you can go and look at Eric Lathwaite's stuff. As I say, in the maglev trains, that's how it functions. There's a flow in a particular direction which propels it along the fucking track. But because I can get two magnets and I can compress them and I can feel a real compression between them. I can put things between it. I don't feel any resistance between them, but there's a real compression between the two magnets. So there's something there. There's some medium that we're not accessing. We can see the effects of it using magnets, but we can't directly access it. But because we can't directly access it, doesn't mean to say that you can start invoking nonsensical, propositions about what's going on. You still have to remain in reality and take your reasoning from reality and how it functions. I'm away for a piss. Fires, isn't it? Right, I've not got anything else to say, really. Nothing else to say. What's happening with you lot? What's going on out there in the big bad world? I've sneezed about fucking 250 times in the last 48 hours. Supermarket shite. Right, I'm off ski. Nothing else to say. I'll see you very soon.